Hi there. Can you hear me? Is the sound good? Good evening. Just gonna wait for a few people to get on and then we'll get started. So, good evening. How is everyone doing today? Just gonna wait for people to come on. Good evening. Hi Barry. Hi John. Hi Scott. How's everyone doing this evening? You guys all set? I'm looking forward to this. Who else is excited with me? We good? Hi, Barry. Right. How is everyone? And our guest, she's ready and waiting. So I think you've all seen from the title today, we've got Avenoir Perfumery joining us. So I'm quite looking forward to this because I don't know about you, but I'm always about discovering new fragrances. I love hearing about new things, and this is a house I'm super excited to be learning more about. And obviously, you saw the sample set that we sampled together. So let's hear it from the house. So I'm gonna bring our guest on. So stay tuned. This should be fun. Hold on to your questions for now. We'll get to them in a little bit later on in the show. So stay tuned. Hi, Deliso. So here goes.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Looking lovely. I love your hair
Thank you.
color. So super cool. Thank you so much for coming on. I think a few people in the house, we are all very curious. We want to hear everything about Avenoir Perfumery. So before we get started, please introduce yourself to everyone watching.
Well, I'm Lou. I am the perfumer and founder of Avenoir Perfumery. Um, I started work on turning what was essentially a hobby into what it is today about 2 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of gradually grown from then. We only launched about 2 weeks ago now, so we're very, very new, but it's been going very well. We've been getting some amazing feedback from people, and yeah, it's great.
That is absolutely fantastic to hear. Before I even say anything else, I just want to say, well, congratulations on the launch,
Thank
because
you.
I can imagine launching a brand, especially in these COVID times. Surely it must have felt like an uphill battle because so much is changed, so much is going on. So, how have you found the launch? How has it been, the journey to the launch now?
It's been a bit of a white knuckle ride, to be perfectly honest. I have all that there have been so many kind of some of them have been really small problems that I've been able to get around really easily. Some of them have been really quite major ones. At the very beginning, I had everything sorted and everything set, and I was just about to hit order with my with one of the suppliers, and I just thought, you know what, I'll just check, I'll see if there's anything else that I might be interested in. And I went through all their things, and I suddenly saw that they'd started stocking quite a number of animal ingredients. Now we're a vegan perfumery brand. I make really quite sure that everything that we produce is cruelty free, not just in terms of that I don't get it tested on animals. I also don't want my suppliers to be testing on animals or to be stocking any animal products, such as ambergris. I know that that's a very grey area because it's it's not technically cruelty, a cruel product, but it's very hard to trace. It's very hard to track and make sure that it definitely isn't as a result of sperm whale hunting. But civet, natural musk, all sorts of things like that. It's quite clear that that is a product which is definitely from animals, and I don't have a problem with other perfume houses that choose to use those. It doesn't sit well with my conscience and the way I choose to make perfume. So that was one big thing, and I had to find a completely different supplier for 95% of our things.
Oh,
We use an amazing supplier who are based in Norfolk instead, and then we do use another supplier instead as well, who are also based in the UK. Tellurian, in fact, had to be reformulated 4 times before I could get it through the safety tester.
oh my goodness, really?
Tellurian was a really difficult perfume to get right,
Wow.
and that was problematic. My biggest issue, because of COVID, has been getting my supplies here on time. Now, most of the manufacturers of perfumers alcohol in the UK have actually now stopped producing perfumers alcohol and are now switching to hand sanitizer, which is great in terms of people needing hand sanitizer because of COVID. For my purposes, for the whole perfume industry in the UK, it's a nightmare because we've gone from our costs for perfumers alcohol have doubled, in some cases tripled, and it's become a really difficult thing. I know a lot of niche perfumers who have actually stopped making perfume altogether at the moment. They're just selling what stock they've got in.
What's in stock? Wow.
And they are now instead selling hand sanitizer, or selling hand sanitizer alongside as a kind of as a sideline, which is great diversification. For me, I didn't see that as something that was necessarily, that there are so many people making hand sanitizer. There are so many people even making vegan hand sanitizer. But I wanted to just focus on these perfumes and get those out.
Wow, amazing. That is quite interesting because, as you said, I was looking on your website and I looked at some of the blogs. So, as you say about finding a company that's supplying products but sticking to exactly what you want, and it's really good that you stuck to your guns, making sure you get what you believe in, what you want. So, kudos for that. What I was gonna ask was, how long, I know you said it's been 2 years, but prior to that, how long have you been interested in perfumery? Are you self-taught? Have you been to a perfume school? What's your history in fragrances?
Now, I grew up with aromatherapy just being part of day-to-day life. When I was a child, if I was struggling to go to sleep at night, I'd get lavender put on my pillow. If I was grumpy, I'd get me put in a bath with chamomile. That was just part of my day-to-day life. As I got older, my mother runs a business making flower essences, and I would often work with her to find the right essential oils to go in the sprays. I have a couple of other friends who make natural skincare and soap and things of that kind. And they were often coming to me and saying, I'm not entirely sure about this one. What do you think? Does it need this? Does it more of that? And I kind of just tweak with it. I actually originally trained as a sound engineer. And I went to university. I did that, and then but after I finished it, I realised that really wasn't what I wanted to do. So I then trained in makeup artistry. Unfortunately, my disability then got worse, and being a makeup artistry is a really demanding job. Physically demanding job. It's mentally demanding as well, but physically demanding hugely. And I just found it wasn't something that I could keep up doing on a really regular basis. So I had to kind of put that aside. But the use of essential oils has always been there throughout my life. It's always been something, and perfume as well. Just going into department stores when I lived in London and trying out everything I possibly could was like a day out for me.
I think
quite
a few people did spend their time going to Superdrug or going to Boots, going to Debenhams. Always the first thing you go to is the perfume section. Yeah. So whilst working with your mom and doing all things in aromatherapy, you didn't even realize you were preparing yourself for life, literally just like stepping stones, just getting there. You just didn't know it. It's amazing.
No, I didn't. So I did I did do a online course.
Okay.
And it was great, but I have to say that I think there's nothing like just getting hands-on with materials and getting in there and experimenting. And I think it takes a lot of experimenting to get it right. As with anything, perfumery is an art, it's not a science. I see a lot of people when they start out and they're following step by steps, kind of adding a little bit of this, and they're looking at it like a recipe. Which is a great way to start, but you will produce. But if you're going to follow somebody else's recipe, it's not going to smell how you want it to smell.
That's it. That is so true. Wow. I can, you know what? It's interesting you talk about these online, especially online courses, because now we are seeing quite a lot of online courses. And I'll be honest, I've been tempted to want to sign up. So I'm like, I would like to sign up, but something kind of puts me off because like you, I feel like really, if I want to do a course in perfumery, I don't think there's anything that's going to replace like being there with the perfumer, someone that knows what they're doing and actually guiding you through it and you smelling exactly what it is rather than someone explaining. Because even if someone tells me this smells velvety, I don't know. Is it the kind of velvety I'm imagining, or it's a different texture? Because even the smell, you said this smells quite citrusy. Even citruses, there is different sorts of smells to the citrus itself. So
Mm.
I want to experience that for myself. Well, that's an interesting point. I must, yeah. I've got a few questions that I was going to ask, and yes, so that's quite interesting. I'm gonna get started with my questions. Before I carry on, I was just gonna say I saw someone ask a question. Dalitso Proctavia World was asking. I think her question was, "Who inspired you? What perfume houses inspired you?"
Oh, hard. There's gonna be one that probably is gonna make people that's not necessarily a traditional one, but I think the way that Lush, not necessarily the way they make their perfumes,
Yeah,
but the way that they talk about their perfumes. And it's very much, for me, it's all about the story. What's in the bottle can be great, but if you can't connect the dots for somebody, then I think if you once you connect the dots and you make a story and you capture the story, you capture the essence in words or whatever form you use, it adds an extra dimension. And that definitely inspired me. I really quite like the Agent Provocateur fragrances. Some of the newer ones I'm not so keen on, but they were great. I used to, when I could, go to Penhaligon.
Penhaligons.
Yeah, and again, some of their fragrances are great. I really like some of the houses that use more unusual notes, rather than the very kind of traditional powdery. I remember being given. I think one of the first perfumes I ever bought for myself was Chanel Allure, as the pure perfume. And at the time, I loved it. It was my favorite.
Yeah.
Now it's very different. I smell it and I kind of go, oh, do you know what? I actually think that's really old-fashioned. It's not. It's not.
It's been reformulated as well. Like a lot of these fragrances now they've had to reformulate them, and some of them they're quite different from how they would have smelled when they were made. So it's quite interesting. Lush, I need to check out Lush now. I'll be heading out there, get some bath bombs and try their fragrances, because
some of their fragrances are fantastic. Some of them, I don't think there's anyone you can go to any house and say I love every single thing they've ever made, because you just won't. It's personal preference, like you were saying with somebody might describe something as velvety. The language everybody uses to describe different things is going to completely depend on your own life experiences. Nobody is going to use the exact same words to describe everything.
This is exactly what I was saying even the other day on my live stream. I was just talking about describing fragrances. The way you describe them is limited to your life experiences, the things you've experienced. Because even if you talk about something baked, someone can relate to it in a different way, because maybe they smelled a different bake, a panaresin rather than a chocolate or something. You know what I saw? Exactly. I absolutely get your point. Yeah. Yeah, Lush, they do have perfumes. I'm just looking, someone was saying they didn't realize Lush had perfumes. They do.
So the I can't remember whether the owner is a trained perfumer or if it's his son. I have a feeling it might be his son.
John might know that. John, tell us. Do you know? John might know that because he was talking about a Lush perfume just yesterday, I believe. So, are your fragrances influenced by the beauty of vintage fragrances? Class, but we promoted. I'm looking at the question, John's question.
Do you want me to answer that one?
Yes, please, if you would.
I would say probably not really. I tried to start with the fragrances. I tried to start with a complete fresh slate. The majority of the fragrances I make are inspired by my own life experiences. So just before I decided to start Avenoir, my life got turned completely upside down. I had to completely start afresh. I had to start. I've been having a very different life for 4 years, and literally overnight everything's changed, and I had to just drop it and start again. Everything,
wow.
New friends, new experiences, doing things differently. Everything had to be changed, and I had a very small baby at the time, and it was difficult. It was probably one of the hardest times I have ever had in my life, and I felt like I needed more than just a pick me up. I needed I needed something else. I can't even think of the words. I needed something that gave me a feeling of power behind me, because I felt completely powerless. Everything had just been taken out of my control, and I just had to go along with it to some extent. That's how I felt anyway. And I was just playing about with oils, and that is how Prerogative came to be. I kind of described it as power dressing in a bottle, because that's exactly how it felt for me. Zephyr, for instance, takes me back to when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and sitting on the side of the school playing field under linden trees. Beyond the Bonds is about a relationship that wasn't really meant to be, and it actually taught me a lot of lessons. Tellurian is probably the one of this collection that is not necessarily about my life experiences. That one was more about how I felt 2020 has kind of become for everybody, in terms of it's been a hell of a, find me one single person who says it hasn't been a hell of a year for them.
I don't think any of us saw it coming. I think the year started off and we had all these plans, and everyone was thinking about, we were going to do so much, we were going to travel, and then the year was like, no, it's not happening. And literally it's been complete 360 for some of us, but here we are. So and I just saw something Caroline said. She said Prerogative reminds her very much of Lord of Misrule from Lush. Yeah, I haven't smelled it myself, so I don't know. I couldn't comment on that.
I think there are a couple of notes which are very similar.
Which are similar. Oh, okay. I wanted to tell you from the collection. So there's 4 fragrances, obviously, in the collection. My favorite so far is Prerogative. I think, I don't know, maybe because I do like quite a bit of dark fragrances, and that just drew me in. And obviously, other than that, Terrarium, again, that is my second favorite. And yes, and then we've got Beyond the Bonds and Zephyr. Zephyr, I found it's quite lovely. That is one fragrance I think I'll be enjoying to wear for myself, going to bed, just for comfort, not for wearing for lots of people outside. I feel like that one is more of a cocoon fragrance for myself. So they've got there's something for everyone. in the collection, which is a good thing. So I know you said that you had to try with was it Prerogative 4 times, and that
No,
was
it's Tellurian.
brilliant. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Wow. So that's the one with the cedarwood and the sandalwood and ginger. Quite lovely. Wow. What a journey. But then, and just talk to us about how you must have been feeling. I mean, when COVID, because I imagine you planned to launch before COVID, isn't it?
So my original launch date was going to be the 15th of June. And I had everything set up so that all my safety testing was going to be done, dusted. My bottles, my everything was going to be done. And then as soon as the lockdown happened, I kind of had to put things to aside for probably about a month, because as many people found, even just getting the basics met at the very beginning was really hard.
Impossible.
Trying to make sure that we had, at one point we were really struggling to get fruit and veg. I know other people it was bread, it was flour, it was toilet rolls. It was just the basics.
Yes, you went to the shop, there was no rice, there was no flour, there was it was crazy. And I think at that
spent all day trying to find stuff, so just going around all the supermarkets. Yeah, so I ended up putting it aside for about a month, and then I started kind of going back to it, and the tester group was meant to happen in person in March. Wow. I had the room booked, I had everything ready, and the people were already invited, and I just had to stop and then buy in all of these stuff to then send them all out, samples, and then get people to respond back to me and tell me what they thought. And then once that was great, I then went to the safety testers, and they said, okay, great, but my first safety tester said to me, we have a 8 to 10 week wait on products because of the sheer amount of people they had putting through hand sanitizers. For safety testing, because almost all cosmetics, natural or not, have to go through the test. If it goes on the body, it has to go through a safety tester. And what they do is not, they run, it's mainly computer models, unless you've got water-based products, in which case there has to be physical testing. But it runs through computer models to make sure that it's below allergenic levels and it's safe to apply on the skin. But sorry, I've just seen that somebody said, what do they look for during the tests?
Please.
So one thing will be that they make sure that you are using safe levels of whatever it is you put in your products. If you add water to your products, I don't, but if you do, they have to do a stability test and bacteria test to make sure that bacteria is not going to grow in the product. Then they also have to make sure that it's safe it's within the regulations to sell within the area you're wanting to sell in. Now, yes, I only sell within the UK, and I'm looking to sell in the EU, but as I'm sure a lot of people are aware, there's a lot of rules and regulations around the brown posting fragrances.
Oh yes.
So I can post to anywhere in the UK. Then when I'm looking at the EU, because I have to send with specialist couriers and it has to go by road, not by air, my basic rate shoots up to £20. Now, I'd love people to be able to sample my products and not have to pay £20. Personally, £20 are, you know, for P&P is a lot, and I don't feel I don't feel I can conscionably sell a product where it's £20 P&P. I am looking at making a oil-based range so that they can be sent in normal post, and that will make it available to pretty much everybody worldwide.
Wow.
But yeah, sorry, I'm going on.
No, that's fine, because I was just going to say this is why there's quite a lot of restrictions with sending fragrances abroad, and the same for people that are not here, even like things going out to Australia or going out to the US. I mean, normally, not even being a brand, we can't go to the post office and say, I want to send a fragrance to France.
Yeah,
they won't do that.
No,
so
they won't. You have to go through very specialist careers, and it's a nightmare. It's, you know,
Yeah.
even as a business, it's a nightmare. As a individual, it's even harder.
Absolutely, I totally agree, because this is something I think a lot of people watching are very familiar with, about the postage with fragrances, and it's just a nightmare. Because I remember talking to one of the perfumers, and she was just saying, when she approached, because she wanted obviously fragrances to go out to the EU and worldwide if possible, and she approached I think it was DHL, and they said to her she needs to guarantee that she will be sending out 1,000 bottles a month. Exactly.
There's very few people that can guarantee that.
No. She said, I could not guarantee that, so the deal fell through. So she can't do that. Like, are you serious? I mean, you're gonna sell fragrances, but I don't think that anywhere, any place in the world, they're gonna buy 1,000 bottles a month, unless, I don't know if you were maybe Harrods, but even for them, it wouldn't be like maybe from one brand. I imagine it would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So I'm just looking at people in Ireland can use and what they call Paso Motel. I don't know about that. It's something I would have to look into. I'm looking at the comments here. People in Ireland, Paso Motel. I've not even heard of that one.
I haven't either. That's something I will definitely look into.
I got a lovely £10 Paso.
Yeah.
John, I got a £36 customs bill the other day. I'm yet to deal with it because I'm absolutely furious. It's coming to, like, are you serious? It's done. What does of course a very well to gifts are easy and they were okay. It's different. I think you have forgotten. Remember when they returned that parcel and it had something? Remember, for the gift set. So unless maybe I was patient, that was lucky. Okay, I'm just catching up with the chat so that we are not too far behind as we carry on. Don't worry too much. Most of us will still pay cost of your bottle. Just pay some for.
Well, Carolyn, I will definitely consider it. I know lots of people, lots of niche perfumers will just chance it with the post office, and if they want to do that, that's great. But personally, for me, I don't have a huge company behind me. It's just me. And people do and have been fined for not excuse me, got hair in my mouth there. Well, people do get fined for it.
Yeah, if they find it, they'll destroy it, isn't it?
That's my worry. I have a couple of people in Canada who are champing at the bit, wanting to get my fragrances, and I really want to send them, but I don't want a situation where they don't get to try them because they get destroyed at the border, or they don't even get onto the plane because it gets flagged up as it's alcohol based and thus it's flammable and it won't go on the plane. I totally understand why they've put these rules in place, it just makes it really difficult. And there needs to be routes, safe routes, which we can use.
Absolutely. I've just seen Barry is asking if there's a discount code, and I know there's a discount code which is launch. Was it launch 10?
Launch 10, which gives you
Yes.
10% off until the 24th of this month.
Yes. So Barry, you heard it. There's a discount code. I'm gonna put it up in my post when I finish here. And as well, Caroline is saying you can add the cost of the bottles, the cost of the postage on the bottles. That way you legitimately, obviously, can post them. That would be an idea because Lou, your fragrances are very, very affordable. No one can complain about those prices. So everyone here, if you can take a moment when we are done, have a look on the website. Fragrances are very affordable, and use the discount code as well. I'll be doing the same. So check them out, and at least for us in the UK, we won't worry about the postage just yet. So take advantage whilst you can. You've got until the 24th for the discount. Oh, wow. John is ranting a lot because he got charged postage after winning a giveaway. He's now gone and have to pay for postage for his prize. That's not fair.
No, that's not fair at all.
Yeah, do check them out.
Please, yeah. I'd love to hear some feedback. I've oh, fantastic! Thank you.
Well done, Barry.
I when I started making the perfumes, originally I wanted to start with a mental well-being collection, and the way things went, that just wasn't going to happen as my start off. But that's going to be the next thing that I move on to. I can't give a date. The idea was that it's going to be after Christmas, but with how everything's progressing at the moment, I can't make any guarantees. So don't hold me to after Christmas. It might not be immediately after Christmas. It might end up being Easter. It might end up being early summer.
But we look forward to them, Lou. We look forward to them.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Sounds good. Yes. So how are you doing? Are you okay to go on to a few more questions, or was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm more than happy to answer more questions.
You sure?
Yeah.
I think a few of these you've answered in the conversation.
Might just have a drink though, because all this talking is giving me a dry throat.
I do the same. Sip into my gin.
Oh, you're lucky. You've got gin. I've just got squash.
I'm joking. Otherwise, John will tell me off. He always thinks I'm sneakily topping up with some vodka or something in the drink.
It's all night.
But we all need something to soothe us every time. John, do you know what? I've stopped tuning into the news now, because it's like every time someone speaks, oh, the pound drops, the euro drops, the US dollar drops, oh, this happens. I'm like, I can't keep doing this to myself. I just need peace. I just need peace. As long as the world is still going, it's fine. I won't bother.
Yes, I have. One of my favorite fragrances, and it was my favorite fragrance for a long time, was The Smell of the Weather Turning by Lush. So that's based around the idea of a petrichor fragrance. And it's got notes, really unusual notes like hay, and I think it's got a little bit of tobacco. It's not a vegan scent. It's got some beeswax in it, I think. But I really liked wearing that. I used to love I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh my goodness. So there's a makeup brand called Illamasqua, and they brought out their own fragrance. Maybe I think maybe about 6 months to a year after they launched, and I used to wear that day in day out. That was definitely my go-to fragrance. That had a real kind of mulberry-esque kind of note to it.
Yeah.
The Agent Provocateur fragrances were definitely sort of my go-tos. I'm just trying to think what else I used to wear. I used to wear a lot, and I used to wear a lot of men's aftershaves rather than women's fragrances. So when I was a teenager, and in my very early 20s, the big thing was for all female fragrances to be very sickly sweet.
Sweet. I remember that.
Not me. I just can't do that. So Fahrenheit was something I used to wear quite a lot. I'm just trying to think of what else I used to wear. I think Fahrenheit was definitely one that I wore and wore till I went through so many bottles. And I was kind of thinking, no, maybe I should try something else.
Yeah. I'm just looking. Barry was also asking, what was your first ever fragrance? They're all asking my questions, so this is good.
So the first ever fragrance that I made, or the first fragrance that I wore?
That you wore.
Oh, well, the first fragrance that I wore was probably my mum used to have. She used to wear Lulu. When I was very small, and I definitely used to wear that. And I'm trying to remember which one it was now. I think after that I used to wear it was a Calvin Klein fragrance, and my brain is not telling me if it was Truth or One.
Truth or One.
One or the other, but I can't remember which one.
I did wear quite a few CK fragrances myself. I remember wearing a lot of Tommy Hilfiger and CK. They were the in thing at that time. Okay, we've got another question here from John, and this question is see, they're asking my questions. Go for it. Yeah.
I'm just thinking.
You didn't think about this one, did you?
No, this is something I didn't really think about. To be honest, other British indie perfumers, I'm really not sure, to be perfectly honest about that.
Fair enough.
I have to, and this is going to sound really, possibly a bit odd, but I think that sometimes when it comes to perfume, you can have too many people with too many different ideas, and they don't express them in the exact same way, and it can become quite muddied. Whereas what I would really like to do is work with other artists, because perfume is an art, but to work with artists of different media, and to produce perfumes that distill their art into a fragrance. I think that would be that would be that would be amazing to do that.
Wow, I know what you mean, because perfume is an art, and as you say, there's quite a few English indie perfumers coming up and coming as well. So quite interesting. Would be nice, because when I smelled one of your fragrances, Prerogative, it did remind me of Lucy's. Not that it's the same fragrance, and I did say that, and this is the fragrance. It did remind me of this one. This is from Nike. So I'm trying to find my cam there. So it's called Double Shot, and this as well is a natural fragrance. So it's actually got no oil or anything. So it's quite interesting. And I did figure out, I think the reason why it kind of made me think of this one was the fact that they are both natural fragrances. They have no synthetics in them, and I think it's that naturalness coming through. So yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for natural perfumery.
Yeah.
What I think a lot of people don't realize, and again, this is just my personal opinion. It's not, you know, it's not for everybody, and there are definitely some scents that are very hard to replicate with naturals. The ozonic, aquatic, oceanic kind of scents, they are extremely hard to get right with natural perfumery. But there are lots of others where it's far better. If you put vanillin, which is the aroma chemical that most people use to get a vanilla scent,
Yeah,
and vanilla absolute together, they are not even slightly the same. There is definitely a depth you get with natural perfumery, but also from an environmental perspective, the aroma chemicals that are used in perfumery generally come from both the petrochemical industries and the paper making industries. They do come from sources which aren't necessarily that environmentally sound. Now, I'm all aware that doesn't concern everybody. And I'm not necessarily saying that it should or shouldn't. That's entirely up to you and your personal preference. But for me, I've spent a lot of my life trying to live my life as lightly as I possibly can in terms of reducing my carbon footprint, not having a huge impact on the earth. I think since having my daughter, that's even more so become a thing for me. I want to make sure I can leave the planet. I can do my bit and leave the planet in a better state than when I came into it. If possible.
I'm the same. I always think about things for the future, like what kind of world do I want my children to live in. So absolutely, I hear you. We have a question from Tony. So Tony asks everyone this question:
does pineapple belong on pizza? Oh, that's a difficult one. I'm gonna say no.
You heard it, Tony. She said no, definitely no pineapples on pizza.
No.
What is your favorite pizza anyway? I'm curious now. If ever you even are into pizzas and that sort of thing.
I like proper Italian pizzas. I like pizzas with with a really, really nice crispy base, and lots of olives and yummy things like that, rather than rather than
artificial cheese.
Sorry?
Artificial cheese, because you see some of the cheese on these pizzas. It's no. Anyway, no. Let's stick to fragrances. Too many cooks spoil the broth.
That's what I was saying. Sometimes I feel that can be the case. Sometimes you can find somebody who you just gel with brilliantly, and they're totally on your wavelength, and you can make amazing fragrances with them. But I'm a little bit precious about my method and the way I do things. That I definitely have my way, and I'm a little bit of a no. I like doing things my way.
Yeah. Wow. I've seen a question here. Would love to make some abstract conceptual fragrance as art.
Mm.
That sounds very interesting. Hi, everyone. I've just seen um, Karen Pinson. So, how do I order Shalima? I think, Karen, I've been replying to this question since yesterday. So, I left a link on one of the posts, so you can check that website out. So, yeah, if you would be peace and perfume,
Why
absolutely.
not?
Yeah, so definitely, John, it's definitely not pizza in the samples as Tony, be nice.
Don't hate me because I don't like pineapple on a pizza.
That's it. Never pineapple on pizza. Never. That's it. Quite. These are your babies. I saw Barry asking. He was asking, which fragrance did you create first? Which one was the first creation in the collection?
That was definitely prerogative.
Prerogative.
Yeah, prerogative was I must have made that just over 2 years ago. And yeah, it was me grabbing a little bit of time to myself, for myself, to just do something creative to take my mind off what was happening at the time. And yeah, that's what came out of it.
I'm glad whatever happened because beautiful things came out of it. So we are glad for that. You know, like they say, it's not how hard you are hit, how hard you fall, it's how you get back up. And absolutely it worked. You're doing good. And we are grateful for these fragrances. And I'm looking forward, and I will definitely support and spread the word. And I'm just seeing John is asking, where do you see the brand going? Do you have a goal?
I definitely have a whole load of different collections in my head that I want to make. I'd like them. I've never wanted this to be something that's stocked in everywhere. I've never wanted it to be something that you can go and pick up from the likes of Boots or Superdrug. It's something that that feels it's special, and it needs to be. I wanted to make something that was going to help, that is sold through other small companies.
Absolutely. And I know what you mean, because in as much as you want to grow as a brand, you don't want to become too mainstream, too much commercial, if that makes sense. So I can totally relate to that. I understand what you mean. So hopefully you'll be in the likes of maybe Javoy one day.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely.
Javoy, you know, the fancy going in, and there is your section. These are Avenoir Perfumery fragrances. So
there are definitely, we're in talks with a number of different stockists all over, up and down the country. I'm also hoping that maybe I can have some EU stockists hopefully within the next 6 months or so. But unfortunately, the B word kind of comes into play,
which I think might be a good place to be as well. So yeah, I'll message on that. I'm looking. You must be really proud. Of course, she's really proud. And John is just saying that a life without pain or obstacles and overcoming is a life not lived. I could not agree more with that statement, John. Truly, where do you see yourself?
But in the time, it never feels like that.
I know. Tough times don't last. Tough people do.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
In 10 years' time, I'd like to have quite a number of fragrances on offer, and to be the idea when I was, so originally I wanted to set up a perfume. I wanted to set Avenoir up as what's called a community interest company, because I wanted to work with people who maybe like myself have a disability and they find it difficult to find work because of that, or they've had mental health issues, people who generally have something in their life which makes it difficult for them to find and stay in employment. I really want to be able to have a I don't want to call it factory because that makes it sound big and horrible and impersonal, but I want to keep it so that they are still hand bottled, they're still made by a person, they're still checked, they're still done in small batches, but they're done on a much larger scale, and it provides jobs to people in the local community. I don't have any kind of big dreams about this becoming something, something that's stocked everywhere. It's always been about.
You don't want to be anything like Chanel or Dior or anything like that.
No, at the end of the day, keeping to the ethos of the company is paramount.
Absolutely. That is so true. And like someone said, that's in the chat before we were having conversations, and they said, whatever you do, even if you evolve in your business, the reason why should always remain the same. Like you should stick to that, even if you try and maybe grow bigger, etc. But stick to why you started. Yeah. Okay. Wow. You know what? I wish you all the best, and I hope there's amazing things coming. And you just launched 2 weeks ago, so the world is an oyster, and lots of fragheads are gonna get their noses on this brand and out. Yes, absolutely, they will. I've just seen a question from Tony. Hello.
Ooh. Oh, that's a difficult one. If I had pick one note that had to go in every fragrance. I would probably say something like, hey. It's a really unusual one, but I think it gives that lovely powdery sweet note that can really round out a lot of perfumes. So yeah, that's what I go for.
Speaking of the hay note, I just saw one of the fragrances that Sarah Becker is launched. It's got that note, and I was looking at the note. So this is, I can't remember Brackau. Don't quote me, but one of the fragrances, and it's got that note. I looked, I thought this should be very interesting. So, and it was made, I think, Eden Ashley Kessler. So I'm looking forward to try it, because for some reason, and this is why we were saying that smells are based on your experiences. Whenever I think of hay, all I can think of is a farm and horses and I don't know. You know what I mean? And maybe not so very nice smells like at the farm. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm quite interested in trying them to see how they work out. And just adding on to Tony's question, if you had to pick one note and why, I wanted to ask which note is your favorite to work with, and also which one is the hardest, and which note is your favorite generally? Sorry, that packs a punch.
Yeah. So at the moment, my favorite note is probably labdanum.
Okay.
I can't get enough of it. It definitely has some really happy memories attached to that one as well. Of spending time in the Mediterranean. The hardest to work with, patchouli I find is really difficult to balance and get right, but definitely the hardest to date that I've tried to work with has been tonka. Now,
Tonka. Wow.
tonka is powerful and super, super sweet.
Wow.
And to me, it just smells like marzipan. But unless you want something to smell like marzipan, you can use just the tiniest amount. And it's not. So Lorraine at one stage smelled like cinnamon cake, like that cake you get at Easter.
Yeah.
Which was okay if that's what you're aiming for, but it wasn't. It really wasn't what I was aiming for. So tonka was just put by the side, and it's something that I will use in the future, but it's not something I'm going to use right now. Not something I've used in this collection.
Wow. I think with that said, that I can imagine when creating fragrances and using sweet notes like that, it must be quite maybe a bit challenging trying to find that balance, because maybe in as much as you want something to be sweet, you want it where it's nicely balanced, because
Yeah.
if it's too sweet, then it gets sickly and you don't want to create such a fragrance. So I think finding that balance, I find that lots of fragrances that I've got, for example, maybe honey, and as you say, tonka bean, you find they had maybe something leathery, maybe a patchouli to kind of tone it down to even things, just round things off so that it's not too sickly.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm looking at this question. Is there one person?
Oh.
Oh, John, come on.
It's not one person. It's a combination of two. I would say it's a combination of Shirley Manson from Garbage and Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails. They also happen to be two of my favorite bands, so that's possibly why. But I would say their personalities, that definitely, yeah.
No, and you can't say why. Oh, fair enough. You heard it, John. Moving along, I used to work on a farm and making and moving hay bales, and it is a lovely smell, especially when it was got wet and then warms up. Barry, I wish I don't know. I don't have really that experience. I think I need to visit farms a bit more. Just so that you know, it is my wish, my dream that one day I would own my own farm. I know it's like a long shot because farms in this country are so expensive, especially where I live. It's rich. You wouldn't find anything that's under millions. It's all millions of pounds, and yeah. So it's a big dream, but yeah. Anyway, moving along. Have you ever thought of creating a snowstorm or the soft falling of snowflakes?
No, I haven't.
Lou, just to let you know, John's snow is scented snowdrop.
Ah, right. Okay. Yes, that makes sense.
Yes. In case you thought, why? Why would you ask that? Just so that makes sense. Just by Jimmy. But the color test. You're super cool. Great answer. Oh, we've got someone here. Daniela, but oh, hello. Good evening. This is a new person on the channel. I don't think I've seen you before. So lovely. Moving along, how are you doing? Are you okay for maybe another question, a few more questions?
I think I've got time for maybe one or two.
One or two. Okay. Now that you've launched, what have you found out so far that you wish you had known before launch? Has there been any surprises that you wish, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this before I did all this? None of that happened to you just yet?
Originally, I'd wanted to have a big launch party, and COVID happened, so that didn't happen. But I think what I've learned most of all is that actually I should have had a little bit more faith in myself, really. That I think, no, I literally was getting to the stage just before launch where I was literally having anxiety dreams, and yeah, I think that's one thing that actually, you know, that these I like to think in some ways the fragrances kind of speak for themselves. I can talk a day about them, but they do kind of, they've got their own stories to tell, but also the story I think of them will not necessarily be the story that everybody will attach to them.
Absolutely, that is so true. I'm curious, Lou, what inspired the names for your fragrances?
Right.
I've read about this, so I know, but someone who hasn't.
Okay, so Prerogative was about literally having the right, about having rights and legal rights, and that's kind of where it came from, because prerogative means basically having the right to do something. Zephyr is I believe it's the name of the western wind in Greek mythology.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it came in. It's a very very gentle, light western wind. Then Beyond the Bonds, so a lot of the all the fragrances have artwork to go with them. When you buy a full-size bottle, you get sent the digital download of the artwork, and there's a playlist that goes with them as well, because I don't just think in smells, I think in music and all sorts of things. But Beyond the Bonds was the first line of a poem I wrote about the breakdown of something of a relationship that just wasn't meant to be. And Tellurian literally means inhabitant of the earth. And it was really meant to be a fragrance about we all live on the earth, and well, most of the time, you know, sometimes I question it, but it's all about having connection to our environment, rather than it just being something that's totally external to us. It's not. We live within it. We are part of it.
Yeah.
So that's what that one's about.
I was just reading what Barry said, that I think most people are scared of the unknown, and well done for jumping into it. I couldn't agree more. Well done for just going for it, because I was just thinking, imagine launching a brand during COVID times. Oh my gosh. And as you said that you were having anxiety, I think anyone would actually. I think anyone would, like, oh my gosh, because it's like, what? And
it kind of felt like now or never, though. I think for me.
Exactly. And this is the thing, sometimes, you know, you have to get started, because if you don't, anything else doesn't matter if you don't start. You need to get started. And now that you've started, there's no going back. The only way is forward. So well done for it. And I couldn't imagine. I was just thinking, launching a brand, you don't have a launch party. And as you said, you were meant to have a sniffing session. You can't have that. But you know what? We are learning to live with the times that we are living in, and it's going to work. It's going to work because we don't have any other choice. So all the best with the brand. I'm just looking a few more questions. You really are a proper artist. A whole incredible experience. And Scott says he finally ordered.
Brilliant.
I definitely need to get samples next week if there are more by random.
Fingers crossed.
John, stop it. No, yeah, in the UK that's fine, because I imagine the giveaway was coming from abroad, and yes, I don't like such nasty surprises. And I think for me as well, the worst thing was I received what it was, and then later on I get this this bill demand, like from the courier company. Like, what? I don't do that. Miya gets so deep and Yeah, that's what prerogative is done to my nose, John. I'm wearing I've got actually two on each so you could make a perfume smelling of delicious ice cream from Italy and cool it. It's now or never. Give it to me. I like that. I like that, Barry. Sounds good. I'm sure we're gonna be seeing a lot more come up with the house. I'm sure, like she said, she's working on another collection. But let's sort of get up and start walking before we run. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
So go out there, check out the website, use the discount code, and I'm gonna write it here. So we had launch. I'm gonna write it here as well, just for anyone. That's the discount code on the website that you can use. So that will get you 10% off. And really, yeah, just buy. You can buy the whole. You can blind buy the whole collection. They are very affordable. Plus, you get a discount as well. You could make, yeah. So brilliant. So look, oh my gosh, it's been amazing. But I feel like we still have so much we could have talked about. But you've been incredible to share the evening with us, because I know you're very busy, especially now with everything, orders, etc., to sort out. So
Mm.
thank you so much for taking time out to come and chat with us. And I wish you all the best and have a good evening.
And you too. And hopefully, when I release the next collection, I will come back and talk to you about that one too.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna tell Barry is just asking, are you on Instagram? Barry, if you go to my Instagram and you see the last post, and it's also in my stories, I've tagged Lou. That's Instagram handle avenoir.perfumery. So do check it out. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much, Lou. We shall be seeing you soon. Take
Brilliant.
care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And bye bye. So, yes, so that was Lou, everyone. How amazing was she? Hang on, I'm trying to move because now that she's so I enjoyed that chat. How about you? Thank you both. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ike. And thank you, everyone who popped into the chat. I enjoyed that chat, and I'm glad to always learn something new because, like I've said before, nothing to me is more interesting than hearing from the brand and why they've created what they've created. So it's always very, very exciting to hear them speak about their creation and just see how passionate they are about the things they've created. So amazing. Another great lady in the fragrance world. Absolutely. Every time you have a lie, it costs me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Scott. Um, that is the whole point. So she is in Birmingham too, double bonus. You can pop in for a cup of tea. So thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone. I shall be seeing you soon. Take care. Bye. You guys made such a lovely and live. Thank you for your questions. So see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.